Good afternoon. First, I heard a comment that I'm not looking directly into the camera when I'm speaking. You're right. I've been reading the transmissions aloud from the monitor screen. I'll try to print the stuff this time and read it off the paper and see if that makes anybody feel a little more comfortable. I've been channeling they, the angels and the guides, for many years now, for people on an individual basis, as someone would come to me for a reading. Things took on an additional dimension nearly 2 years ago when I suddenly began to do group channelings with messages for many that now covered the whole world. These new messages soon were recorded and transcribed and sent out in email so others could read they's words also. Recently, I began recording each new transmission from they as it came out. But there's 2 years of past messages that are available to anyone who wants to read them. I think you'll be amazed at the predictions of things that often came to pass just even hours later. Please send me an email at cat9201@aol.com if you'd like to receive the past messages, which are all consolidated into booklet forms. You can also find some of these transmissions on my website at www.goldentrines.com. And that's GOLDENTRINES.com. They acknowledge that things can get pretty rough here on Earth, and each transmission they have given us not only gave us predictions of things that were to come, but words of comfort and encouragement as well. My friend Celine has taken some of the most helpful suggestions that they have given us over the last 6 months, from July to December of 2011, and compiled a list of them. Each of these suggestions were taken from a regular transmission. And here's a few of them. We may be called upon to do exactly that. All the fences need to come down. The hate is going to eat itself. We are starting to get it. We are beginning to get it. We're making this longer than it has to be. We make it zigzaggedy instead of straight. The light, of course, is the light of the divine. Just be peace. Be peace. Be. Spend time just being, and then when you have that nailed down, go one step further and be at peace. Be empty like this. Be empty like this empty bowl. It is what it is, and the truth is. The truth is the way it is. Get yourself above the nonsense, whatever way works for you. Keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. We are here to help. We live to serve. Remember the truth of who you are. Remember the truth of what you are. And that is that beautiful internal light. Lights are all different. All lights are not the same. They're all different colors. Now, not to get yourselves all worked up, put yourselves in that bubble of peace and light and calm and comfort. Okay, we're going to start off this most current transmission from they, which was given Thursday, January 5th, 2012, with a validation. And this validation goes back to messages to 22 and 26 back in 2011. Now, the thing I've thought over and over, they were talking about the football scandals, and then the next week they talked about the dome. There's no doubt in my mind that the dome they talked about was the Syracuse dome. They made that pronouncement just hours before the story broke up in Syracuse, New York, and then became a national or even world story, which is even now still being talked about. I don't know if they changed it over from football to basketball because Syracuse is known for both, but that is the dome story. This must be the validation. And now the transmission from Thursday, January 5th, 2012. I always pay attention during meditation to see if there's a message from they that might come in a little early. And they were showing me what looked like a green cloth. Actually, it reminded me of a frost cloth that we have down here. It's just what it reminded me of. It could have been a big green tablecloth for that matter. But the color green was the message. The message was renewal and rebirth and restart and new beginnings. It was kind of floating over the meditation room or the meeting room, which was nice. And then it worked over towards my office, which is just a few feet away from the conference room. It really gave a very nice feeling. There are so many good beginnings to the first transmission of the new year. Very nice, new beginnings, calming. Concentric circles. Then they showed concentric circles that was circles within circles within circles, and hard telling what that meant. But it feels like it had something to do with time. Time as we know it. And of course, doesn't exist, and the concentric circles were just showing me that all time is now. Even saying it in words doesn't relate very well, I don't think. But it was like, here's an experience right here, and then it blossoms out like this, but all time is now. It all worked within these concentric circles, and I guess that's where they are going to be today, working with time. The concept of time is now extremely difficult for most people to understand, although it's critical that more and more people do understand. Everything is all happening at the same time. That kind of blows your mind away, doesn't it? To our brains, we think that the war of 1812 happened a couple hundred years ago. Actually, 200 years ago exactly. But in terms of they and the universal experience, all time is now. Actually, the War of 1812 is happening right this minute, if that helps put it into perspective. And I just want to throw in a side note here. Just yesterday, I started reading the new Greg Braden book on 2012, and he's talking about exactly the same thing with the concentric circles of time. So if you get a chance, pick that up and read it. Kind of a nice validation. The softest of padding. What they are showing me now is a padding of some kind that's light and foamy, delicate padding. For example, one might put a bumper around a baby's crib to keep the baby safe from the railings. It's that kind of soft padding, and I guess what they're trying to say is they are doing their best to protect us from the bumps and bruises of bumping into the railings of life, because we're really little babies and kind of brainless rolling into these railings. They really do their best to try and buffer that as much as possible. But at the same time, we need to learn the lessons from these excursions of rolling into the railings. They showed this to me a few weeks ago, and I still don't really know what they are getting at. It's like a beautiful, big evergreen tree. If one were to decorate it, it would look like a Christmas tree. It's not, though. It's just a big, beautiful evergreen tree. Maybe there's some kind of symbol here that I'm missing for this, because it's the second time they have shown this to me. I am feeling that much of this year, they are hoping that more and more of us reconnect with Source, reconnect to nature, reconnect to all that is, and reconnect to things that really mean something. We get a little taste of it during the holiday season when we reconnect with our loved ones, our friends, and our family. There's always a little part of us inside that says, how come we can't hang on to this all year? How come we can't? We can, and what they would like us to have, each of us continue that reconnection every day throughout this year. And not just to human beings, but to all of nature, because it's all source. and learning to reconnect with Source, returning to Source, and returning to discovering what's really important. The last few years on the planet has been a sorting. They are laughing, for they are talking about the Harry Potter sorting hat. And what that means is the sorting out the wheat from the chaff, sorting out from what is important and what isn't important. For people across the world, they are finally sorting it out. What is important enough to stand up and speak up for what is, and speak up for things that are wrong, and speak out for what is wrong, and reconnect and get back into the whole parade of life. What they are showing me here, and I think it's the final vision for today, is sitting in a chair in the sunshine out in the yard, in a park or wherever, just sitting and being. Just sitting and being. No phones, no electric gadgets. Just sit and be with all that is. They are making a point that this is not being in a building, not being in a fancy church or a synagogue or a mosque or whatever, but being out in the middle of wherever makes you feel good in nature. That is your church. That is your synagogue. That is your mosque. That is where God is for everyone, because God is everywhere. Have a great day.